Another edition of Creator News Live. So glad that you're here. I just realized that I don't have my comments open, so I'm going to open that really quick. But we have an amazing show for you guys. We got my friend Zach Brown, who's fresh from social media marketing world for the first time, and Mr. Paul Gowder, who's just an amazing person, hands down. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun show. And as we go along today, we would love for you to share this with your friends. We'll be talking about storytelling and a little bit about AI, which Zach is chock in the middle of. And so if you have any questions, make sure you mention them down below wherever you're watching from, and we will try to get to those live during the show today. But Zach, good to see you, my friend. How is Florida?
Hey, buddy. Great to be here. Florida is great. It's interesting going from one coast to the next and the differences of tropical.
Yeah. Yes.
But things are good.
So, I mean, I know you live in Florida, so I probably know the answer to this, but your favorite park, is it still World? I mean, do you like that ecosystem better than going and seeing the OG Disneyland?
That's a good question. That's hard. Ooh. Especially just coming off of that, you know? I mean, I love me some Epcot, like the pace of it.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the food game over at
really?
Main Park is, oh my gosh.
Way better?
You're not for want. I mean, every 5 feet is some other kiosk or restaurant or cafe. It's overwhelming in the best way possible.
Okay. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I had to, I didn't go because of my back issue, but we have rescheduled it to October. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe it'll be, it'll be nice either way. So it'll be good. So Paul Gowder, how are you? I know you're not on a boat right now. Connor's on a boat.
Not yet.
But you got an epic trip going on, right? Coming up, right?
Yeah. In June, we're going to do a 12-night Greek Isles cruise.
Hopefully there will be no virus. Golly, that is scary stuff, man.
That's really scary.
Doesn't that freak you out a little bit, though, like all the cruises you do?
It does. The norovirus freaks me out more because that's more prevalent on cruise ships. And just coming off a stomach virus that I brought back from Albuquerque, that one scares me more. But yeah, it's always a risk when you get in confined spaces like that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We have some of our friends already showing up. We have the amazing Kira showing up saying, "Happy Friday, y'all." She has to agree. Disneyland has amazing food. Now I'm hungry. Thank you, Kira and Zach. That is the worst. But okay, we're going to go ahead because we got a great conversation with Zach. I'm going to go ahead and hit go on the podcasting machine, and we will get started. Here we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Creator News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Paul Gowder, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of the creator economy and so much more.
So, have you ever sat down to write something, post something, or record something, and felt the itch to dump in every clever line, every great clip, every angle you come up with? Are you wondering if AI maybe should be writing your story for you, or if there's still something only you can bring to the table? Maybe you're curious what storytelling actually looks like for a creator in 2026 when everyone else is racing to the bottom on volume. If that sounds familiar, you are in the right place.
This week, we're joined by our friend Zach Brown, host of The Zach Brown Show, where he introduces you to old friends one story at a time. Zach just got back from Social Media Marketing World, his first time, and he's written a book called An Accidental Education. And his whole thing is helping creators see their work as more than just content. It's a world, it's an experience, a connection. He's going to walk us through how to tell better stories where AI fits in and where it never will.
So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind to get ready for this week's episode of Creator News Live.
It's Creator News Live, where great stories thrive. Zach Brown is here, keeping wonder alive. With a book on the way and a podcast that's true, he'll show you what AI can never quite do.
Well, that was interesting. You guys left me, and I was like, what's happening? Hopefully they'll come back before the show starts. So there we go.
That was weird.
That was
I thought it was just me.
No, it's just like you guys both got kicked at the same time. So that's really, really strange. So we'll have to talk to our friends at Ecamm. By the way, they're the ones who sponsor the show. We want to give them a big shout out. Ecamm.com/Jeff. But you notice that they came right back. So like other software could boot you out and you'd be scrambling around, but Ecamm works like a charm. It was probably on my end. Who knows? Somebody in East Texas sneezed and we lost the internet. So go to ecamm.com/Jeff and you can save 15% by using code Jeff15 as you check them out because they're amazing. They're an amazing company. By the way, we've got not just Kira here. We've got Lauren saying it really, just talking about Disney, has the best food. Doghouse Media, Kevin Shea saying, morning, Jeff, Paul, and Zach. Happy Friday, my friends. Happy Friday to you, Kevin. Thank you for joining us. Raymond is here. He's probably writing a book as we speak. He's an amazing author. Make sure you guys check him out. Seriously, he seems like he drops a new book every week. He's incredible. And then we got Ben saying, hi, Zach. I think bringing in from your neck of the woods. And gosh, we got all sorts of people. Chandler's here. He says, loving the intro. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We've got so much more with the amazing Zach Brown here today. But Zach, I want to dive right into it. First I want to ask the audience. So I want you guys to drop in the chat. What's the thing that ever made you say, I want to do that? Like Zach, we're going to talk about, he had a really good example in his first chapter of his book. But was it a movie that inspired you to do what you do? Was it a book maybe? Maybe it was a teacher. I want to know what inspired you to do what you do or even go down the path, because when I was a kid, none of this existed. So there was no aspiring to this at all. It just kind of happened. So I would love to know what inspired you to do what you do. But Zach, the first chapter of your book, which you were kind enough to give to me to read, it opens with like the hum of the VHS player as your favorite sound. So I want you to take us back there. So what was it about that moment of pressing play that hooked you on storytelling kind of for life?
So we had a lot of VHS tapes that were obviously bought from the store, but we had tons that were just like the mixtape of VHS, where you'd have like 3 or 4 movies. They were recorded on probably the lowest quality possible to get the most amount of movie on there. And it could be anything from Indiana Jones to Alvin and the Chipmunks to Disney classics. It was anything. And, you just basically look at this thing and go, what adventure am I jumping into? It was like going to a library, but with visuals. And so deciding as a, young person to be like, okay, do we want to go explore and fight the Nazis with Indy? Or do we want to, blast off to a galaxy far, far away with, Indiana Jones again, but in different clothes?
Right, exactly.
That's what's so very special about just being able to select the adventure, of the day.
That's good. Yeah, I think you and I are similar in that way, because those movies really inspired me. Now, I'm not an archaeologist or a space cowboy, but those were very inspiring for even just creativity, like seeing how George Lucas created worlds, not just Star Wars, but also the Indiana Jones series with Spielberg. And so I think those really did affect me a lot. And then all the stuff behind the scenes. I remember getting those books where you would Industrial Light and Magic. Like those were my guys. Like I was like, oh man, I wanted to be them so bad. The cool stuff they got to do. They got to go build things and play. So yeah, very inspiring. Just in the creativity angle.
That's cool. Yeah, in your book, your grandfather comes off the page like a 12-year-old trapped in an adult body, and you describe his smell and even talk about the Sears catalog. Oh, I remember that. I miss having an actual catalog in my hand.
Yes.
So does your storytelling trace back to him? And how did you get that from him?
So my mom's dad, his name is Vern, but I always called him Grandy. Very influential in my life. I mean, it's my love of cameras, my love of Star Wars, trains. He had a little a model train set. And he still has it, which is awesome. But all these little aspects, I didn't realize it, but he was kind of creating little worlds. He was making gardens, and that was his space, his train set, little world. Modeling, little world, cameras. It was just all these things, and it was like, just literally sitting here with you guys right now, I'm kind of realizing that he was doing that as well. And just inviting me in to play in his worlds and being like, it can be anything we want it to be. And so it was like, because he always jokingly said that he was 12 years old forever, there was always a sense of play where you could be serious about what you're doing, but not take yourself too seriously, if that makes sense. And so I attribute a lot about what I do, who I am, my interests, a lot of things that still inspire me today. I can directly trace back to him and his influence.
Yeah, I think it was funny because it was something that really stood off the page to me, is that you said that he smelled of leather and graphite, which I thought was very specific. And it's so funny,
Yeah.
those smells that bring you back. I was talking to another guy yesterday about how smells can bring us back. And for
Mhm.
me, it was growing up, we always went to a place in Missouri called Silver Dollar City, which was this amusement park, but it was also kind of like back in time kind of a thing. And it has the asphalt smell. So whenever I even like somebody's putting asphalt down or something, I smell that. I'm instantly a kid
Yeah.
again back there. And I think
Yep.
we don't. I mean, those smells that really just lock us into memory. I just think it's so cool how that still
Yeah.
matters to this day. We've got some other great friends who popped in. We got my pal Eric Fisher saying, "Great guest and great topic and great host too." Well, thank you, Eric. Watching over on
Thank you,
LinkedIn, and Raymond says he covered a James Bond conference for his newspaper column and decided it was time to write another novel. He's now working on his 23rd book,
Wow.
folks.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Amazing.
And Lisa, we're saying hello right back at you. Thank you for coming and watching today. So Zach, you went to like filming Star Wars model ships on a fishing line.
Yeah.
And in the Florida Panhandle humidity. Listen, I grew up in Kansas. I understand sweating and playing at the same time. You have that, just it's kind of a given.
Yeah.
When did you, and now you run a podcast called The Zach Brown Show, which is really cool. And I've been a guest on that. I'm excited I was excited to be asked to do that. But when did you realize like the backyard movie kid wasn't a phase, but it was like your whole career? Like that's what you wanted to do.
It's funny. I say often that who we are, our makeup is with us forever. And it whispers to us throughout life. It's always pointing us back to, I think, what we're created to do. And so I was going from filming the videos in my father's front yard to writing little scripts and playing with friends in my neighborhood, and then kind of carried that into my teen years, into like youth groups and different things. I was always the guy with the camera. And I just wanted to capture things and film like outings and vacations. I always had a video camera. And again, that traces back to Grandy. I always had one of those giant VHS camcorders. Literally took an entire VHS tape that went
Right,
into it.
yeah,
So it was
I remember,
very
yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
And I was always the guy carrying that around and just capturing. And it would be after the trip, everybody sit down and be like, okay, let's sit and watch this thing that I made. I'm taking you on the journey with us like you were there. So maybe you didn't get to ride the ride, but I've got a POV. And maybe you didn't see that late night joke. I just love capturing those moments and bringing people in and sharing it, because it's like, I think at its simplest boiled down form, this is something that I experienced and enjoyed, and I want to share this with you to hopefully convey the same joy that I experienced.
That's really good.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I did the same thing with my Star Wars toys, setting them up in scenes, taking the pictures, trying to make them look like the movie. I love that.
Yeah.
And so your book's called The Accidental Education.
Yep.
So can you tell us some of those accidental lessons? What's that most accidental lesson that you've learned over time?
So there was a season of life where I had some free time in my schedule, and I really wanted to be a Disney Imagineer. And so I took up a volunteering job at a museum that we had in my hometown. It's the National Museum of Naval Aviation. And it's really great. I mean, it's airplanes everywhere. It's free. Grew up going. And so I enjoyed it. And I thought maybe I could get some hands-on experience on how to build exhibits or attractions. This could be some sort of education. And I eventually ended up in the exhibits department, and we were working on a Coast Guard exhibit. I knew nothing about the Coast Guard. I had never built an exhibit before.
Right.
I didn't grow up military, but I was like, you know what? I'm here, I'm learning, and I'm just going to show up. The only reason that I was in the room was because at the time I was working at a news station. And so the guys there just assumed that I knew what I was doing. And so I just kept showing up. And we were editing this one video, and the guy who was kind of like my point of contact, he kept using this phrase over and over. He would go, I like this shot. It really has this high speed, low drag. And I'd go, yeah. And I had no idea what that meant. And then later he would go, yeah, I like this shot. It really gives it that high speed, low drag. And I'm like, yeah. And after about like 2-3 weeks, I finally said, Merv, I have no idea what that means. You keep saying it, and I just got to be honest, I don't know what that means. And he laughs and he said, I don't either. I heard it somewhere and I thought it sounded cool. And I figured because you worked in the news and do production work that you knew what it meant. And so neither of us knew what it meant, but we were using it. It suddenly became part of our like just everyday vernacular there in the exhibit shop. We finally do this presentation for the guy who's over the museum. And again, I'm not a military kid. I'm not disrespectful, but the whole like ranking thing doesn't mean anything in my world. And this very high up gentleman comes in to watch our presentation for this exhibit, and we play the video that we've edited. And he's sitting looking at it. He goes, I really am enjoying this. I don't know why I said it, but I had the boldness in the moment and said, yes, sir, we feel it really has the high speed, low drag. Merv turns and looks at me as if, no, you did not. And there was a pause, and the guy goes, yeah, I like that. We looked at each other like, no way. And it just became this phrase of it has the stuff.
Right.
And so from that moment, I decided that I would never want to have a high speed, low drag moment. If I don't know, I'm just going to be honest and say, could you please tell me what that, about that?
Right.
Or I don't know who that person is. It helped me get better at just being honest and saying, I don't know, help me learn.
That is such a key piece of advice, because I think when people start out, or when they're, I remember when I first started business, I was so scared that I was going to give away everything. They would steal it and I wouldn't have any of my, secret sauce or whatever. And that's, that's one of those things too, like, and asking for advice. You don't have to always be the smartest person in the room. Sometimes I'm never the smartest person in the room. Paul will attest to that. Because when I'm usually with Paul and he's the smartest person in the room. I think taking the time and understanding, like, you don't have it all together and people don't expect you to all the time. And it's okay to ask those questions, I think, is part of growth. And I'm really glad that you shared that with us today. But one of the things I wanted to give a shout out to Stephanie Garcia. We have a lot of people watching over on LinkedIn today, so she loves today's topic. So thanks, Stephanie, for tuning in. And I want to go circle back real quick because Paul mentioned his Star Wars toys. Now, Paul, I want to know, did you have as many Star Wars toys as a kid as you do now? Because I've seen pictures of his collection. It's pretty epic.
It's impressive.
Yes.
No, I had a good number of figures. In college, I went through and actually finished the entire vintage collection. The figures, they all sit right here.
Uh-huh.
No, I didn't have it. I didn't have a whole lot. I had some good stuff. I had some of the early stuff, which is really cool because that stuff's
worth
kind of crazy
yeah.
value. Yeah. It's a joke in my family though. The one toy that I wanted so bad, and I always joke that my parents never got it for me. They got everything I wanted, but they never got me the AT-AT, the AT-AT, right?
Right.
And I did end up getting that when I started, collecting for real, but that's kind of like a joke. And the AT-AT is the thing in our family that's like the thing I never got.
Oh, yes. My next door neighbor had the Death Star, so we'd always go over there and play with the Death Star playset. That was, and Dagobah, that was the other one because it had quicksand. Anyway,
That's
okay. Cool. Little nerdy, right there. Sorry. So Kira says, I love that. Don't know. I don't know are such powerful and positive words. Yes, I totally agree. And it took me a long time to figure that out. So I am a slow learner, but I eventually get it. So Zach, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the chapter that you sent me kind of centers on a 10-minute talk by your friend Dave Flatten. And it was about killing your darlings. And we actually used that. But talk about, you said 2 decades later, you can still hear his voice. Why do you think that lesson out of all of them is the one that wouldn't let go in your mind, it kept like surfacing?
So Dave was just one of those guys that he was a wealth of knowledge and could communicate in a way that didn't make you feel that he was above you. He was right there with you, just sharing what he knew. We lost Dave a few years ago, and he was just a super amazing guy. And I'm just thankful for the wisdom that, he passed on. But he said, kill your darlings. And it's a quote by a man whose name escapes me at the moment. And it's basically, not everything needs to stay in the final project. You might film for 45 minutes and love every bit of it. But is your audience going to be engaged? Is there a point when the energy drops? Is there a point when you're like, this really isn't moving the story forward? This is just causing drag. Cut out the fat. You're like, can I get this down from 45 to a tidy 20? And initially you're like, but that joke was good, or that line was great, that shot, oh, I worked so hard on that. But is it serving your audience? Is it ultimately making the final product just a wow package? And if it's not, kill your darlings. You have to go through the critical eye, step away from it after you've been in it for a minute, take a lap, get a coffee, go, watch a movie and come back. You'll look at it with fresh eyes and decide, you know what, that can go. Sometimes it's shaving 2 seconds off of a video or editing out an entire paragraph from a story that you're like, I like this thing, but it doesn't actually lend itself to communicating the main point. And that's hard, but the more that you do it, the better you'll get at just kind of letting down, honestly, your pride and sacrificing your preference for the ultimate product.
That is so good. I started doing editing back when like DVDs started coming out with the extra features, and you would get like the extra things. And like I remember watching Robert Rodriguez, some of his stuff, and it was amazing because he would put like recipes and all sorts of crazy stuff on his extra feature, or how he made it, because he was like a kind of an indie filmmaker, and you learn so much from those. All the stuff that didn't make the cut, and they show in those special features. Like, oh my gosh, like they really are ruthless when it comes to getting it down and do it in front of test audiences and all that kind of stuff that the movies do. But it was really eye-opening to me seeing how much stuff, and it was good stuff. Like it was like moving the story along, and that was a great scene between these two characters. And you're like, okay, I see what they did there. And so I think that kill your darlings thing is the number one thing people who are creating stories online don't do, and they need to start. I think that's probably the number one thing. And I'm so glad you brought it up today. So go ahead, Paul. You got another question?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about editing, because it is a really tough thing to do. And whether it's, your podcast or video or written, you talk about editing isn't just trimming footage, you're shaping the emotion. So talk about that storytelling arc. How do you tell creators to build for emotion?
So it's telling a story. There's a way that you can frame a story that just grabs people. And there's a way that you could be building momentum, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I forgot to tell you the thing, I got to go back. And you lost that momentum, and you've not kind of perfected the flow. I'm a musician, and so when I edit video, I edit musically. Like I look at the beat, I find the rhythm of it. And there's something about it that subliminally we as humans connect with. And it creates this emotion where you're like, man, like there's something about like my heart rate is getting locked in with the cuts as they're right in time with the music. It's a little trickier when it comes to the written word, because you can't rely on those visuals and the music timing. It has to be this pacing. So you write it and then you read it out loud. So you let it flow so your ears can resonate with it. So you look and go, this statement flows, and that that period right there, like, ooh, stuck the landing.
Yeah.
Or you kind of go, I added a sentence in there and just kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that at the end. What was the point of that? So does it make me feel confused? Or is it really these words I'm leaning in and somebody goes, oh, you had me. You can do those hard pivots. Our friend Jeremy Stein wrote a book, and he was sharing a very happy moment, immediately shifts into something very tragic. And it's like this whiplash. And that's genius, because it's creating this emotion. It's drawing you in one way and all of a sudden pivots to something else. You want to think about the journey that you're taking the viewer, the listener, on. And what are you wanting them to feel? That is the question that you have to constantly be asking. What do I want them to feel when they are finished with this?
So one of the things you mentioned in the chapter that you sent was the Scary Mary clip. So first of all, tell people what the Scary Mary clip is, and then what was it about that kind of flipped the switch for you when you first saw it?
So the Scary Mary clip is a very old, very classic, I think it went viral video that was on YouTube. Might have even predated YouTube. And someone had taken clips from the movie Mary Poppins, that is a joyous and happy family film, and they recut it with some effects and music that makes it look like the most terrifying horror film. And it's brilliant. You watch it smiling because you know the context and how they took it and reshaped it into something completely different. I saw the potential of editing. I was like, wow, somebody could take something that usually brings joy and brings happy tears and made me go, that is terrifying. I don't want to watch that in the dark.
Right.
What on earth? Like the lovely Julie Andrews. Now I don't want to look in the eye.
Right.
Brilliant. It's so good.
So now everybody's going to be Googling Scary Mary to try to find that.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. So that is really, really good. So really quick, before we move on to the next section, I wanted to ask you, do you have any resources for, we've been talking about storytelling and how you went from like a VHS kid to a storyteller, but are there any resources that you point people to, like you need to read this book, or you need to like watch Scary Mary and see how they edited it? I mean, for me, StoryBrand was kind of the always point people to when in business, like go read that book that helps you frame the story and really good stuff. Are there any other ones that you recommend to people who are wanting to be a better and more creative storyteller?
As far as books, I would say find people that inspire you and read their biography or autobiography, because you'll see what they went through and kind of their influences, and it really helps you get in their head and see how they're processing. And then you can kind of shift and look at your own story, and it just inspires you to see like, okay, that's what George Lucas was going through. That's what Dr. Seuss was going through. That's what Dave Grohl was going through. It takes you in these places. But as far as something that I would say, go watch this, go watch the Light and Magic series on Disney Plus of how they created, because they are scrappy, they are young, they no rules. They're literally inventing things to get their ideas from here to the world. Just consume things from other creators, not to steal, but to inspire. The hard part of the stories when you go, yeah, like I can get through this too. I'm telling you, there's something about watching the creative process and other people go through that will stir that within yourself and inspire you. And it will help you go, I know what I need to do now. It's the coolest thing ever. I don't know how to explain it, but if you are wanting to create, go get as much as you can from other creators and watch how they did it.
Yeah.
It will change your game.
And I say also go outside of your niche. And like I like
Yes.
to read a bunch of different things, because that's where I think creativity comes, is pulling things together and creating something new. But I highly recommend that series is so good. And I actually bought their 50th anniversary hard coffee table book because it's just it was so good. But the cool thing that I remember the most out of all that series, the Light and Magic on, I think Disney Plus is where it's at, is that when they weren't working on a project, they were going into and painting a set, or they were modeling something. They were all cross-disciplinary and doing things to get the project finished, right? They were like, hey, we don't know what we're doing. We're making this up as we go along. And the sum of all those parts was just amazing. So yeah, it's a great series. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a great one to get. So really quickly, Raymond says, I like Killing Your Darlings. Learned that when they told me as a newspaper column that can only have 600 words. Like, yeah, you got to kill your darlings that way. And then... and Lisa says, because she read your first chapter, she goes, I could hear you talking when I was reading the preview chapter. It was like we were in the same room and you were just telling me a story. Can't wait to read the rest. So Zach, right now I'll just give you a little plug. Where can the people go to find that first chapter of your book? I know you have a special landing page for that. Where can they go?
Yeah, you could DM me through socials and I will send you the link. Join my newsletter. I need to get a much better way of just having a place.
I thought you had a landing page. I thought you had a landing page that I
do have a landing page, but I need to like send a link out and just kind of have it. It's on my Facebook. So just message me. Yeah,
at Zach Brown Creative. Get that first chapter. You'll really, really like it. And then Rich Graham says, that's me Googling Scary Mary. So he's right now going,
nice.
Yeah, exactly. So really quick, we're going to do a word from our sponsor, because they are not scary. They're the amazing people over at Ecamm. So here's a word from our sponsor.
When your show deserves the very best, Ecamm stands above the rest. Ecamm.com/Jeff. Won't you see brilliance? Easy as can be.
Once again, thanks to our amazing folks over at Ecamm for sponsoring this show. And I want to know, you guys, really quickly, a quick poll. Where do you use AI? We're going to switch to kind of AI section. And everybody left again. What is going on today? Did everybody get kicked out again? It looks like they did. Interesting. So, am I still live, Rich? You're still watching? I want to make sure we are still going right now. Am I still here live? Here we go. Everybody's coming back. This is really interesting. What's going on?
Yeah, that's weird.
I've never had people boot at the same time, so I may have to send something in there. Okay, we're still live. Good. Thank you, Michelle, saying we're still live. That's a little bit crazy. Anyway, we're talking about AI, so I want you guys to drop in the comments. Where do you use AI most in your creator workflow? Is it coming up with ideas? Is it editing, outreach, or I'm not using it at all? So let me know in the comments below how you're using this AI the most in your creator workflow. Ideas, editing, outreach, or I don't want even to hear another word about AI in my lifetime, which is probably not going to happen. But you just got back, Zach, from Social Media Marketing World, which it was your first one, and I wanted to get your kind of first take of it. And I know they talked a lot about AI and storytelling, and it's a conversation everybody's talking about this year. So walking in at Social Media Marketing World, what were you expecting and what actually happened? There's probably two different things.
It's funny that you asked that. I walked in and met up with some friends of ours, and they were sitting at a table with a bunch of people that I didn't know. And I'm a very, I think I'm an introverted extrovert. And so the initial moment at like a gathering, I'm kind of like, I don't know who these people are, and I'm just going to sit and listen for a little bit. And this lady looks across the table at me and she goes, "So what do you hope to get out of this conference?" I was like, "Lady, I just got off a 5-hour flight. I've been in this place for 45 minutes. I don't know where I am. Just give me a second, But I went, I honestly don't know. But oftentimes I meet people and what I'm going to get out of it kind of finds me. And it was really cool because I felt that everybody was so approachable and the relationships were just happening. Like people were just coming up and they were very friendly, and I was making connections and future podcast guests and all this stuff. It was great. And oftentimes sitting talking with them, to say, like, to answer the question of what was I hoping to get, what did I get? I was hoping to get connections, and I did. And what did I not expect that I got? It was just the amount of takeaways from something that somebody would say that would spark an idea for something else. So I'm just taking notes, just voraciously, just going, oh my gosh, I know they said this, but that made me think of this over here.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just the like, it was like sparks hitting dry kindling and all of a sudden going like, ooh, like that meant for this, but all of a sudden this happened. And so I have a action item list, like a CVS receipt. And I am just so excited to sit and start going through all these things.
I know.
Again, the amazing people that I met were wonderful, but the stuff that they might say just kind of in passing, I'm like, ooh, I need to chase that down. So I'm very rejuvenated and excited from coming out of this conference.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about conferences is just being in the room with some of those folks and having the opportunity to have those conversations. Yeah, I think that is the power of these things. So I'll put you on the spot. Like, was there any specific conversations that really changed how you're going to do your show or launch your book? What's some takeaways that you took home?
I think something that really stuck with me, there's a guy by the name of Cliff Ravenscraft. He's been podcasting for as long as Moses has been around
Right.
and was a super, super nice guy. And I told him, I said, I often find myself sitting at tables with people that are out of my depth, out of my league. But I get to just meet them and hear from them, and it's very special. And he looks me in the eye and he said, "I don't ever want to hear you say that again." And I said, "What?" And he's like, "You are never out of your league when you step into a room. You are never out of your depth when you're sitting at a table." He said, "You bring value. You have experiences that the other people don't, and you are just as valuable to that space." He said, "You are there for a purpose." So he's like, do not think of yourself as less than, because he said, then you won't be open to conversations. You won't bring yourself to that place fully. So he goes, just show up and bring your authentic self. And he's like, I promise you will get so much more out of every single conversation. And I was like, man, that hit me so hard, because I was like, I didn't realize that I was doing it. I was kind of looking at it from a place of humility going, I don't know who they are, but I'm here learning. He was like, your words create worlds. So don't say to yourself, I don't belong here. He said, say to yourself that I have just as much value as they do. It's just different. And that changed the trajectory of that conference for me.
Mhm.
Now I wasn't showing up, seeing the little speaker, denotation
yeah,
on their
tag.
name
Yeah,
tag
yeah.
and going,
Right.
ooh, I was like, neat. I might see them say something later, but also I have the opportunity to sit and talk with them just the same as I would anybody else.
Yeah.
So that conversation alone, I think it really just put me at ease. It kind of lowered some walls that I was putting up for myself and was just approaching it, go, not in a cocky way, but just kind of go, they're people too.
Mhm.
You know, it really changed that for me.
Yeah.
That's hard though. That is hard. I mean,
Yeah.
we hang out with Lou, and Lou brings some big names around us sometimes, and I get fanboys some, and it that is hard to do. So that's a great takeaway.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
I hear
You know,
Lou talk about Kevin Feige one more time, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna anyway. Just kidding.
well,
Hopefully,
it's
he's
funny,
watching.
Paul. I thought of you. We were sitting at dinner one of the nights after the sessions or whatever, and we're just back at the hotel, sitting in the lobby getting some food, and we're talking, and I see Lou kind of we're facing each other, so he sees the person behind me, and he waves. He goes, "Oh, hi," and I turn around, and Pat Flynn walks up, and they're just
Mhm.
talking or whatever, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "Come here, I want you to meet my friends," and he's like, "Zach, this is Pat Flynn," and not in like a cocky or flippant way. I just stood up. I said, "Hey, man, it's really nice to meet you." I said, I appreciate what you do." He was like, "Oh, nice to meet you too." But I didn't go into this going, "This is Pat Flynn." I was like,
Right.
he's
Yeah.
a dude who looks at Pokemon cards. He
Yeah.
does it very well, but I just still was like, "That's cool." And so I stood up. I was like, "Hey, it's super nice to meet you." It only got it within myself. I was like, "Well, that was different and very cool."
Mhm. And I'll say this is Pat is one of the nicest. He is exactly the same person on and off the screen. Super nice
Yeah.
guy, like just a really cool dude. So we've got some great comments from the amazing chat room. Dustin goes, "Where am I using AI?" Of course, Dustin is the founder and creator of Magi. A little tongue in cheek there. And Chandler's saying, "I use AI to build a deck slideshow of different vehicles that my store sells, so that I could have or play on my loop in our showroom." That is very, very
Oh,
cool.
that's
That's a
cool.
great
That's cool.
way to use it. And Michelle says brainstorming, helping with content. And Raymond, of course, says basic research. He's never, ever going to have AI write his novels for him, but basic research is fine. So thank you for that.
Sure.
And Michelle also says, "Wow, this is such a great takeaway. You are not less than. I needed to hear that today." So that's why we do the show right there, is because of just those little takeaways. And even Rich said, "Solid advice. I often think I'm out of my league." And Rich, I know you, and you are not. Gosh, man, I wish if there's one thing we could, in Spider-Man, how he can make everybody forget, everybody forgets that he's Spider-Man. I wish I could make everybody forget that they're not, what God created
Yeah.
them to be. I mean, I just bothers me when I know it's everybody suffers through that imposter syndrome. I have done it. Paul and I have
Yeah.
talked about it before. But man, once you start being okay and you are deserved to be in that room, it does make a huge difference. So thank
Yeah.
you guys for
Just
all your
yes-
transparency. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just yesterday, Rich taught me a tip inside a kit that I didn't know. So, yeah, Rich, man, you have a lot of value.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we got Kevin even saying AI, he uses it for creative pitches, researches, pre-production, not so much in editing. He enjoys editing. I need AI to help me streamline post-process. Some of my clients are not comfortable using visual AI. Yep, that's a growing concern. I see more and more of how people are using it, I think, as a tool and using it to actually do some things. We'll cover that in another show. But anyway, we're talking about storytelling and how to use AI in that way. What do you think the whole thing is? Your whole thing is helping creators see their work as more than content. And you mentioned it's a
Yeah.
world, it's experience, it's a connection. So how do you really build that world feeling for like a podcast or a personal brand? Because storytelling is what I think personal branding actually is a huge part of. So how do you do that, Zach? Like that world building that you talk about?
So I think it all comes back to play. As simple and silly as that sounds, you step back and go, I'm creating something, so that means that I get to pick the rules. George Lucas decided that in his world, there are humanoids, there are robots that talk, and there are giant walking carpets that can rip your arms off if you beat them at hollow chess.
Right.
It makes no sense in any other context. But he decided that that's his rules, you know? And so I think if you decide this is what I want to do, these are the rules that I want to use, you're already world building. You've not started telling story. You've not, told people what you want to do, but you've already started with a foundation of these are the rules of the sandbox. This is our rules of pretend. Every kid in playing pretend runs around and, swipes an arm, goes, okay, you lost an arm. You got to put it behind your back now. You can't use that one. It's silly. And then the other kid goes, okay. That's what we all get to do when we create things. So decide on what you want it to be, and then start pulling from who you are, the things that make up, yourself, your own story, your things that you want to pull in and draw from. So when you create that world, it's already intrinsic to you. You know it. You keep pulling from yourself. You're showing up authentically. It's who you're made to be. Because if I tell people when they come on my show, they're like, do I need to do any research? I said, you've lived your whole life. You've already done the research. You're just pulling from your experiences. You already know it. So when you're telling stories, it's like, Paul's like, I'm going to share emails and connect with people. He's pulling from his own thing and sharing his own story. He doesn't have to fabricate that. That's his world. You're bringing your audience into that world. And they're kind of hearing repeating themes. And again, like the repeating themes of the Force and Wookiees and droids. And we're like, yeah, we get it, because we've seen that multiple times. So we know that that's how that works. That's why sequel movies are so much more easy to watch than the first one. Rules are already established in the first movie. Second movie, we get the rules. Now we can really expand the story. Second movies are always so much easier to watch and make. So when you're doing that with what you're creating, know what you want to do and where you want to go. You got to take some time to set it up, but then you're inviting your audience into that. If it's like Michelle and you're telling people about Key West, how do you want to tell them about Key West? Anybody can talk about Key West, but how do you want to frame it? How do you want them to feel? She's setting her rules and explaining it. She's inviting them into the world of Key West through her eyes, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally.
And doing a great job at it. Y'all should go look at her social. Her engagement's through the roof. Now, Zach, in your workflow, where are you letting AI in, and where are you kind of drawing the line and not letting it in?
So I think where you draw the line, whether you choose to or not, I think some people get weird and tell them it's all your personal information. Like I've got this bump on my arm. Should I have that? Like, that's weird. Don't be telling your AI that stuff. But I think I did this thing and it has changed my entire AI thing. I named my bot Max after Max Headroom, and we had a very long conversation. I asked him to interview me 25 questions, one at a time, that I want to have. These questions are going to dictate future answers. So he knows me personally, kind of gets inside my head, how I think, what I care about. This bot started asking me questions about my philosophy on life, my hopes, my dreams, my internal fears, all these things. So we go through this whole deal, and I just talked into my phone. I walked around my house and just had this long stream of conscious. I was not editing. I was just flowing. I was giving a lot of knows and likes, just like I would a person. And then at the end of it, it goes, okay, I've taken all this and now I've built a brand compass. And now we're going to run all of our decisions through this, because this is who you are at your core, your desires, your outcomes, the things that I wasn't able to put words to. It was helping me define things that I've appreciated and enjoyed and desired since I was 5 years old, things that have shifted in the last, 2-3 years. I kind of built this external brain of myself. And so now I allow that to kind of help me inform my decisions. I don't have to take them, but it's shifting the way my AI works for me and my projects, because I gave it what I want it to do. And so I think that has become very helpful. The answers and responses that I'm getting are not the simple, you're right, Zach, that's a great answer. It's actually going, this is very on brand to what you want to do, or to go, actually, I would think you would want to do this. If this is the direction you're wanting to go, we need to toe this line. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I don't need to do this thing. That does hold to the brand compass. It has been revolutionary in my workflow and processes.
So, really quick, there's a training coming about on this, by the way, but I've done the same sort of thing. I had the interview, and I've spent a couple hours having it interview me, and I have a constitution. I have one about my business. I have one about, constitution is like who I am, like you were saying, that you have done, like your brand compass kind of thing. I also have one for design, how I do my design stuff. And so
that's cool.
Having these multiple documents that you can move between different places is key. Because, Claude's good one week and then it's ChatGPT the next. And so being able to switch between them
Yeah.
really makes a big difference. Really quick, we have some great comments in the comments section. We have Kira saying the creatives I admire the most never really grew up. Going back to play is great advice. And Dustin, this is good. He gives you some props. The AI master himself says one at a time questions is a pro tip.
Yep.
Don't miss that. And then Lauren
Yep.
says, be right back. I have to go have my AI interview me immediately. That is such an interesting idea and exercise. I love it when we have stuff that AI helps us do. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I gotta do this. So I'm gonna get nerdy again really quick. So
Jeff's getting his nerd on. It's a nerd alert.
all right. So one of the things that this is because you guys know I love to read and I've been reading for a long time. But one of the things is I had this story that I when I was a kid, and this influenced my creativity a lot, Zach. So you'll get this. It was this book series, and I could not remember the book. I knew it was about a robot. He got a robot brother, and something about he charged himself through his belly button, and there was something about a swimming pool in one of the stories, like they fell in or something. And I'm like, I have been trying to find this book series forever. I can't remember what it is. Finally, I was able to ask AI, and it gave me the book. And I was My Robot Buddy, and there was like 4 series, and I ordered them all. They're all out of print, but I got them all from Thrift Books for like $40.
Nice.
AI wins, so super nerdy. That was something that I love finding stuff like that, real world stuff. But anyway, so really quick, let's go into our last section because I want to get into this when you were talking about killing your darlings. So I wanted to ask the audience for wherever they're watching from to just drop it down in the chat. Like, what's a darling you need to kill in your business or in your content this week? Like one word, drop it in the chat. What do you need to kill on killing your darling? So Zach, if you could go back to that workshop kid sitting in front of that MacBook Pro with no right click button, what is the one thing you would tell him about the next 20 years?
Well, if we're based on the Back to the Future rules, I can't really tell him all that much.
Right.
But I would tell him, be more curious. Keep asking questions. You're not going to learn if you don't ask. Just don't be intimidated. Don't be ashamed to say I don't know. And I think when you're more curious, you learn, you get excited about things, you grow. I think at different seasons of my life, I would just kind of plateau and I'd be intimidated by the power of the idea that this is going to be hard or something's going to be difficult. If anybody's ever worked at a job for a long time and then you leave that job and start something new, all your muscle memory is gone and you just feel inadequate. You don't feel like you've got what it takes to do this. All it takes is time and repetition. And so to be like, dude, you're going to figure it out. Just be curious and get in there and do it. So I think it's the curiosity aspect. Just keep learning, keep growing, ask the questions, and just don't wait to find it, till you have to be in the middle of it. It's the, what Roy Rogers thing of like America is the only nation in the world that waits till it's in the war to start learning. You don't want to have to wait till the opportunity to learn is right in your face before you start learning. Like, you need to get these things, like, be interested, hear about it. Don't wait till AI is this far down before you're just dipping your toe in. Like, jump in, start getting your hands messy.
Right.
It will serve you in the long run.
You're not going to break it.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. So for the creators out there listening and they're hoarding every clip, every photo, I'm hoarding projects and ideas as well.
Right.
Right. Because I feel like they're great, but we only have so much time. So let's talk more about this. I love this. I want to keep it. How do we actually take action on killing our darlings, and what do we cut, and how do we get that going?
The things that you're holding on to, the things that you're figuring out, I think you look at and just kind of go, if I was to make a greatest hits album of everything that I'm doing, what is a must on that list? And then look at everything and just go, don't need it. Really just get down to where you go, this is the thing that, like, if I die tomorrow and they look at everything that I've created, that this is the stuff that's on the list. And you're like, this is fine, but it's really not going to like move the needle. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it's cool. But would that be included in my like in memoriam? Maybe not, or probably not. I think those things you just go, let it go. And I also think this is simple as something I tell people is follow the peace. The thing that you're like, this is eating my lunch. This is not serving me. This is not bringing me joy. Just be done with it. Chase that thing that you're like, I can stay up till 4 a.m. doing this, and this is awesome. I'm so proud of this. Focus on that stuff, and the stuff that doesn't do that, let her go. It just doesn't need to be a part of your story.
So let's say there's a younger creator right now watching. So what's something a younger creator, like somebody who's just getting into maybe editing their videos using the edits feature on Instagram or CapCut or whatever, what is something a younger creator is doing right now that the storyteller version of them 5 years from now is going to wish that they had cut?
The moments when they're trying to be someone that they're not. I think so many times we see somebody do something online and they're popular or they've gone viral or it's just trendy and you're like, that's what I need to be doing. No, you don't. They're doing it. They stand out because they started doing it and it just took. The thing that makes you stand out is the thing that is yours uniquely. Then you go, this is just me. I think the faster that we realize who we are, what we bring to the table, and accept it, and then lean into it, the faster that we are going to just shine. John Hughes did a brilliant thing with Breakfast Club where he broke down these archetypes of people: the jock, the brain, the brain case, the basket case, the criminal. Find out what you are and be okay with that. You don't have to be ashamed that you're not this or this. Just find out who you are and lean in. Stop trying to be what is working for someone else and just do what you go, I do this well. I don't care if it's basket weaving, if it's baking, if it's taking pictures. You don't need to try to put that through the lens of something else. Take what you do well and what you enjoy and just let it be. I promise it will work. Don't try to be anybody but yourself.
So interesting enough, even for this show, I'll use myself as an example, is that I do the old school kind of stuff. I love the retro things. I love the new Fantastic Four movie because it was all retro. I love, the Jetsons. I love all that stuff. That's why I have the songs. Is it silly? Yes. Is it something I'll continue to do? Yes, because I like it. So I think if you find something that you enjoy, you're going to do it more. Like if you want to lean into collecting Star Wars figures and you want to talk about that all the time, then do it because you're going to do it and be passionate about it. And like another thing is like I remember when Paul, when we first went to Momentum, and he was still working a corporate job, and he was working to get to the spot where he could leave and then do powwows for full time, and he has leaned into that. Like it was great when we were together last in real life. He was showing me kind of his pictures, like when he was doing his bead making and all this stuff that you were doing your costume. I mean, it's not a costume or whatever what you
regalia.
Regalia, yes. So, because you get in trouble if you say the costume word. So, but Paul, talk a little bit about that. I mean, you had to kind of like, okay, I'm going to go all in on this powwows thing, and you didn't know at first if it was going to be successful. It was just kind of a hobby that you were doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, Zach talks about being accidental. I call myself accidental entrepreneur. I learned as I go. This wasn't meant to be a business. It was just something that took off over time. And even when I left the government job, I struggled with what do I do? Like, what do I do on a daily basis? How do I bring value to this thing? I'm now paying myself, right? Like, how do I justify that? What value do I bring? It's a hard transition in figuring out where you fit in. But I love what Zach said. You have to lean into who you are. And I've tried to do that with email storytelling and everything else, is just being me and taking people along that journey. I started powwows.com because I wanted to share, like, here's what I'm learning. I think this is really cool. Y'all check this out. And so I've tried to keep that same curiosity and exploring attitude in it. And just go from there. Yeah.
And Zach, this has been a great conversation. I think a lot of people have taken away, like, Kira says, I think over planning or over strategizing can be a darling in a business, which I think is very, very true. We try to get every option covered, and then we don't do it. We kind of get in vapor lock. And she also said, find out who you are and be okay with that. That is so great. Raymond has some advice to his young Ray self, says, don't wait. And And sorry, Dustin took me to task. He says, moving documents between apps is annoying. Treat them in Magi instead, and you can never have to move them. Come on, bro. So, yes, Magi is amazing. You can go to magi.co/Jeff. I do love Dustin and his products. So, I was just giving an example, Dustin. So, it's okay. Anyway, Zach, I want people to find out where they can find out more about the amazing Zach Brown, the Zach Brown Show, where you are in the accidental education journey. When is the book coming out? When can they get a hold of it, or that free chapter right now? So the floor is now yours, my friend.
Whew. Okay, so you can follow me at Zach Brown Creative. My podcast is the Zach Brown Show. Like they said, it's just meeting old friends one story at a time. Everybody has passions and stories about how they got to where they are now, and it's going to inspire someone in their journey. So love for you to check that out. Drops the last Friday of every month, and a familiar fuzzy face that you've seen on this show will be the episode this month, and I am very happy that he was on the show. The book, An Accidental Education, What I've Learned So Far, releases to you and the rest of the world on June 23rd. Lauren, who's been in the chat, has been incredibly helpful through this process over at lulu.com. They are lovely, lovely people. So you'll be able to get it there. I'll have a link on all my socials and podcast, the thing. I think I've done all the stuff. But yeah, if you want the first chapter of the book, message me and I'll send you the landing page. It's pretty great. I'll give you a free chapter. Feeling generous.
It is very, very cool. Zach Brown. Zach is spelled ZACBROWN, Creative. That's where you can find him for all you people listening on the podcast. And Paul Gowder. Where can people find the amazing Paul Gowder?
PaulGowder.com. And if you want to create a landing page that then follows into a sequence where you can deliver something free, come check it out. We'll talk about that. Zach, we need to talk after this.
Yeah,
I know.
and Paul's the man. And so Dustin goes, whatever, man. And he gave him a smiley face. So Dustin is one of my BBFs. He's a before beard friend. He knew me.
That's funny.
Yeah, before beard friend. So he knew me way in the day. Lauren, she goes, happy to help. Can't wait to read the finished product. Lauren is amazing. You should go watch her episode. We've had her on a couple months ago. It was a great talk with her. And with that, this is amazing. Thank you. We have the amazing chat room. Kira, Rich, Lauren, Dustin, everybody who showed up. You guys are the best. Thank you guys so much for watching.
The Creator News Live chat room. The best chat room in the world.
That's right, folks. You guys are the best chat room.